Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Wahoos Weekly, your weekly in-depth look at the Pensacola Blue Wahoos on and off the field. With Charlie Hobert, I'm Eric Bramer. Charlie, the Blue Wahoos this week are playing the Columbus Clingstones, and it's rare to go this deep into the season without playing a divisional rival, but the Wahoos are getting the Clingstones full blast here near the end of the first half. Couldn't come at a better time because the Blue Wahoos are going to be competing with the Clingstones as they chase after that first half divisional title, and it looks like it's pretty much anyone's game at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Pensacola got off to a pretty rough start this year. I think we don't have to be shy about saying that, but it's kind of been a weak Southern Division, and if that's going to be the case, you play 500 ball, play a little over 500 ball, just stay steady and stay consistent. You're going to be gunning for that top spot in the Southern League.
Yeah, 500 is where the Blue Wahoos and the Clingstones were at when they faced off in Pensacola at Blue Wahoo Stadium a couple weeks ago. Blue Wahoos match up pretty well against Columbus. They're a very different style team because Pensacola relies a whole lot on speed and things like that. Columbus, playing in a hitter-friendly ballpark, they hit a lot of home runs, and we've seen that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a good thing that the pitching rotation has picked it up a little bit. You want to keep the ball in the yard. Homers are going to kill you, and especially when this pitching staff has been semi-prone walk-prone this season, I should say. Walks and home runs are a bad combination for defenses. David McCabe, big home run hitter. You want to be careful when you go up against these guys because if you make one mistake, all of a sudden that scoreboard's going to flip like that.
The first thing I noticed when looking at the Clingstones roster this year is the number of familiar names and faces. You've got players who go back even to the Mississippi Braves days from 2023 and 2024. You need, over the course of a long minor league season, veteran presence. And even if these guys have maybe aged out of so-called prospect status, guys like David McCabe, if you give them enough reps at Double-A, they're going to become pretty dangerous hitters. And I think we're seeing that with a lot of different guys up and down this lineup.
Absolutely. I mean, and even if they don't produce as much in the lineup, they're veteran baseball guys, and having that presence in the clubhouse, especially in a league like the minor leagues, Double-A, Triple-A, Single-A, wherever you are, these are the youngest these people are ever going to be, you know? And so having these guys who have been around the game, have been around minor league ball, having them to guide these young kids through this difficult time in their life where they're just figuring it out and they're not sure if they're going to make it yet, it's great to have mentally. And then, like you said, with the offensive production, they can help model their games and they can make games more fun. Winning is fun, Eric. And so when players play well, it's easy to want to be like them and model your game after them. So it's a big deal.
This can all change at a moment's notice, but right now the Blue Wahoos do have the advantage over the Clingstones in that they have a more set and established starting rotation. Injuries, promotions can always change that, but right now the Blue Wahoos rotation is firing on all cylinders with a sub-3 ERA in the month of May. Now heading into June, the hope is that they can keep this group together because it seems like they're all rounding into form at about the same time.
Well, as we talked about last week, Brandon White was called up recently, and he was a very big part of that rotation, and so we've had guys step up. Luis Palacios, as he's done his entire career. Luis Moreno has stepped up. Carson Milbrandt has been, I would say, the best starter on this Wahoo staff the entire year. And then you got guys Jacob Miller, Alex Williams, who's found his strikeout stuff. It's been huge for them, and to go up against a team that hits a lot of home runs like this, it's been super steady, and it gives them a big advantage.
Even at a time when the Blue Wahoos were getting good starts, they weren't winning as many games as they felt they should have because the bullpen had been leaky. Now again, this can all change on a moment's notice. One bad outing can upset the stats, but it sure looks like the Blue Wahoos have found a couple guys they can trust at the back end of the bullpen, led by Colby Martin.
Yeah, you said upset the stats, and I think it's kind of been the reverse thing for Colby Martin. Colby got off to an extremely tough start this year, was giving up runs, was walking a lot of guys, and his ERA, as it does, ballooned up. So when he enters the game and you see an ERA that's a lot higher than you want relievers to be, well, maybe the offense thinks, okay, this shouldn't be too bad, but you look at these past couple outings from Colby, he's finding his velocity. He hasn't hit 100 yet, but he's finding the velocity. He's been planting that slider exactly where he wants it, and he's gotten that mind right. You could see he was going through it mentally early in the year. He was pitching tight. He didn't look like he had any confidence, and it's difficult. I was just talking about it with Jack Johnson, the broadcaster for the Columbus Clingstones, but, you know, success comes from confidence, but confidence comes from success, so that's where you got to dig deep and you got to find the confidence in yourself, and that's exactly what Colby's done, and he's done a great job, and he's kind of cemented himself. I don't want to say cemented himself as a closer, but he's definitely given himself a front-running spot as that closer.
Well, for a former D3 infielder, he certainly has closer stuff, and he's developed a third pitch this year, a more drop-heavy breaking pitch to emphasize the fastball and the slider even more. On the left-hand side in the Pensacola bullpen, Cade Bragg. First year in the Marlins organization, acquired in an off-season trade from the Twins system. He's had his ups and downs, but he too has proven to be pretty reliable when handed a lead late.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely feel good giving the ball to Bragg as of late. It's nice that he has more lefties that's joined him in the bullpen. Luis Palacios, Christian McLeod. You know, he's not the only guy that they're going to go, we need a lefty, give me Cade, you know. So he's got a little bit of a weight off of his shoulders with that. The walks and the command have been a bit of an issue for Cade, but when he's throwing strikes, he's been as effective as anyone else, and he gets weak contact. Not the biggest strikeout stuff, but you don't always need the biggest strikeout stuff. So Cade Bragg, it's all a matter of if he can put the pitches where he wants, and when he does, he is as effective as they come.
I want to talk a little bit about the Blue Wahoos catching staff because it's been kind of a revolving door, unfortunately, because of injuries. Spencer Bramwell on the shelf. Ryan Ignaffo has missed some time recently. But taking their place, Sam Prater hit a big home run in one of his first games off the injured list, and Garrett Forrester, pressed into near everyday duty, has really provided to be a potent bat.
I mean, it's the catching position is the position you need the most depth at. I mean, maybe save for pitching. And Ryan Ignaffo, he is such a big part of this team. So it started off with Iggy, and then you had Garrett Forrester. Well, then Garrett Forrester got hurt. So Spencer Bramwell came in to be the backup. And then Bramwell, a couple games in, he got hurt. So Sam Prater came off the dev list, and he immediately, like you said, made an impact, hit a home run in a 1-0 win. Well, then Ryan Ignaffo gets hurt, and now Prater is going to be the number one guy, and Garrett Forrester. It's been kind of a mess, but they've all stepped up. They've all done their job. And this pitching staff has done such a good job, and they've been just as big of a part of that, keeping the ball in front, calling pitches. You know, I mean, it comes from the dugout, but they're out there and they're reinforcing that confidence. And then Garrett Forrester offensively has honestly been one of the steadiest bats in this lineup, despite not playing a ton. So you got to take your hat off to all the guys who have stepped behind the plate, and to the catching coordinator Cam Vega and all those guys. It's been huge.
Ignaffo begat Forrester, Forrester begat Bramwell, Bramwell begat Prater. It's like a Bible verse, you know, it's going in order. Let's talk a little bit about the middle infield, because the Blue Wahoos have also seen Christian Hernandez turn a corner. Big offseason acquisition in the Cubs trade for Edward Cabrera, and it was a slow start for him at Double-A, but maybe not home run power, but at least doubles power and more consistent at bats. That's, I think, as much encouragement as anything else.
Yeah, he's starting to creep back into it. It's not exactly where he wants to be yet still, but you see him look a little more relaxed on the defensive end. When he's picking up the ball, he looks relaxed. I'm going to get this ball to first, no problem. He's not nervous. He's not worried about it. We've seen him lay off the slider a lot more recently, which has been one of the biggest downfalls to his game early on in this season. Hasn't been able to recognize that pitch, and it's given him longer at-bats. It's let him see more pitches, and the more pitches you see, the higher chance you're going to get a good pitch to do damage on. So the fact that he's able to recognize those breaking pitches has been huge for him. And like you said, the home run power not really there. That's not exactly what they're looking for per se. We all think it's in there. He's got a good build for it. But he's putting good swings on the ball. He's making loud contact. Even the outs are coming off the bat at a high velocity. So excited that Christian's starting to turn that corner, and I'm excited to see where he's going to go with it.
Yeah, and when Christian Hernandez isn't playing shortstop, a couple capable other options with Peyton Green, Ian Lewis Jr., Gage Miller, all able to play across the infield. And then finally, in the outfield, we've seen so much power, so much potential from three different ranked prospects, plus Amarian Boyd, who has promise of his own. But Fenwick Trimble, Dylan Lewis, and Brendan Jones all seem to be living up to that potential. The hope is they can stay healthy, and I think for all of them, it's very realistic that they might end up at AAA or beyond by the end of this season.
I mean, they've all been consistent in their own ways. Trimble got through his rough patch early in the year, and since then has been as consistent as anyone in the lineup. Brendan Jones is just a force at the plate. He puts together really good at-bats. He runs well, and the power has shown up. And then Dylan Lewis, I mean, what can you say about him? The guy hits homers. The guy hits. He runs well. He can beat out an infield single. All three of them just major assets to this team.
Dylan Lewis, the fastest to 9 home runs in a season in Blue Wahoos history. As much as I would like to ask you, Charlie, about the Columbus Clingstones, I've been saving my best questions for our upcoming guest, Jack Johnson, who is the broadcaster for the Columbus Clingstones. We'll be talking about the Braves AA affiliate after this when we return on Wahoos Weekly.
At A1 Automotive, we do it all kinds of repairs for all kinds of vehicles. We do AC repairs, we do suspensions, we do pre-purchase inspections. We'll diagnose your problem and get it fixed. Free brake inspection. We can provide financing for any work we do. Veteran-owned, military, and first responders discounts. A1 Automotive, 403 Beverly Parkway, Pensacola.
Gilmarine, your one-stop shop for all your boating needs. We offer a vast selection of parts, accessories, and electronics. Discover our range of used boats in every size, shape, and brand, all ready to get you on the water today. And we provide expert advice and top-notch customer service to ensure you have the best boating experience. We service all outboard, inboards, stern drives, jet drives, and personal watercraft. Our certified staff will get you back on the water. Visit Gilmarine at 3541 West Fairfield Drive, Pensacola.
Empire Truck Sales, located at 2255 West Detroit Boulevard in Pensacola, is your Freightliner, Western Star, Detroit Diesel, and Cummins dealer for Northwest Florida. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturdays and Sundays, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., providing sales, service, and parts. Empire Truck Sales is also your Oasis dealer for Freightliner custom chassis RV and motorhome repairs. Running I-10 will get you in.
Nestled in the heart of Pensacola, Dorothy's is a one-of-a-kind, community-driven cocktail bar by Oasis, Florida, created to sustain vital HIV and STI care across the Florida Panhandle. Inspired by the Wizard of Oz, rooted in inclusion, and dripping with character, Dorothy's is a welcoming space with award-winning Oz-inspired cocktails, food by Steel Pony Diner, and an unmatched atmosphere. Join us 7 days a week in downtown Pensacola, located directly across from Maritime Park and the Blue Wahoo Stadium.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Wahoos Weekly. I'm Blue Wahoo's broadcaster Eric Bramer, and today I'm joined by my counterpart with the Columbus Clingstones, Jack Johnson. Jack, give it to me brass tacks. What exactly is a Columbus Clingstone?
Well, first you got to start with Columbus, which is, believe it or not, the second largest city in Georgia. The second part, that's the one that has seemed to trip over everybody up over the last few years. It's a peach, more or less. There's two different kinds of peaches. There's the Freestone peach and the Clingstone peach, and I know that's what everyone tuned into Wahoos Weekly to learn about, but
that's why I started at the top of the show.
Clingstone peach is a little sweeter,
okay,
clings to the pit a little bit more, and the Freestone peach grown a little bit more in the southeast. Actually, the Clingstone, believe it or not, grown more typically in Central California than in Georgia. But that's something that we could just keep between us.
Well, but it's thematically appropriate because it clings to the heart.
Yes.
And that is what the fans do to the baseball team,
yes,
right?
you're all over it.
Okay. Tell me about the process of joining the Columbus Clingstones, because you are the inaugural voice of the Atlanta Braves AA affiliate that relocated from the Mississippi Braves at the end of the 2024 season. You got the job in part because you're good at what you do, but also because it's not your first experience in the Braves organization.
Yeah, it's not. I was very fortunate to start with the AAA Gwinnett Stripers coming out of school at Arizona State. Was the number 2 broadcaster there for 2 years. So it helped me get a lot of experience, not just in professional baseball, Eric, but also in the Braves organization. I think that helped to carry over when the number 1 position opened up for a team that was moving from Mississippi to Columbus to not just move into a new city, but also embrace a new identity. Diamond Baseball Holdings, our ownership group, put a lot of money and a lot of effort into building up a ballpark that had been 99 years old at that park. And so you were there when we opened up that ballpark April 15, 2025. So you remember the chaos that was surrounding us and the overall event that was so spectacular to have that opening day there. So it was a lot of fun, learned a lot from our inaugural season. It's been a lot of real joy for me to have the type of continuity that I've been fortunate to have in this organization now for 4 years.
Yeah, I was there for the very first game at Synovus Park, and there were a lot of people running around like chickens with their heads cut off. You kept cool, calm, collected the
Yeah.
entire night, so I give you credit for that. I got to experience an inaugural season in my previous job in Fredericksburg. I did not stick around for the second season when everything just feels a little bit more calm,
Right.
I joined the Blue Wahoos in 2022. So now, in year 2 with the Clingstones, what's different, what's easier when you were going through it all for the first time in 2025?
Well, I think number one, I just know where everything is. I know how to print. I mean, it's really just kind of the basic stuff, because I think the interesting thing for our inaugural season is because we were renovating the ballpark, we actually never really saw the ballpark in operation until the day you arrived, April 15th of last season. So learning where everything goes, adjusting to a new staff, adjusting to new players. A lot of these guys, you talked about it with Charlie, are returning this year. Well, I was meeting a lot of them for the first time last year. So to carry over a lot of those relationships, not just with the players, the staff, but also with our front office staff, which is tremendous in Columbus, the community, which comes out and supports this team. Doesn't matter if it's a Friday or Saturday, they're there for every homestand. That's the part that I really enjoy. And so to have that continuity in a year or two has been really special.
Every major league organization tries to have a specific identity, something that if you ask them, what do you do better than everyone else, they have an answer. In your experience with the Braves, with AAA Gwinnett and now AA Columbus, what is that identity for the Atlanta Braves?
I think it's spoken to by the level of talent they produced at the major league level. If you look at the last 7 years of National League Rookies of the Year, you're going to see a lot of Atlanta Braves on there, and they're all homegrown players. Ronald Acuna Jr. was signed as an international free agent. Michael Harris was drafted out of high school. Drake Baldwin from Missouri State ends up becoming National League Rookie of the Year, when I don't know if many people, when Baldwin was in the AA system at high A, were expecting him to be a Rookie of the Year, be a central figure, potentially an all-star this season with an Atlanta Braves team that's playing very well. So homegrown talent has really been what the Braves have prided themselves on. And that just extends back to, the Superstation days, the 90s. They've always done a really good job of developing homegrown talent. So I feel like when we say, you can see the future stars of tomorrow here at Synovus Park, I really earnestly feel like we can deliver on that promise.
You mentioned the Superstation days back when the Braves were on TBS, and you could watch the Braves pretty much all throughout the country. The Braves were, and still are to some degree, kind of the team of the South. There are a lot of people here in Pensacola who are Atlanta Braves fans.
Right.
You're now back in Columbus, right across the state line, in the home state of the Atlanta Braves. What advantage does that offer you as the AA affiliate, knowing that a lot of your fans are going to be following these players as they reach the big leagues?
I think it is tremendous in the sense that when we go to any Southern League park, I like to say this, please don't take any offense to this, but I say, listen, it's their city, but it's still Braves country, because the Braves have that vice grip on the Southeast. And like you said, because of the Superstation days and what Ted Turner was able to do with TBS in the 80s and the 90s to present Atlanta Braves baseball around the country, they have a following that extends beyond this region of the country. But also to have all four of your single A, your high A, your double A, and your triple A affiliates inside the state, that provides fans of the Braves not just an opportunity to see their major league team, but also see, okay, who's in our system? Who's going to be the next guys? And I think people take a lot of pride in that. I know for me, growing up in San Jose, California, and a fan of the Giants in my youth, being able to watch a Tim Lincecum, a Buster Posey, a Madison Bumgarner, a Pablo Sandoval all play in San Jose, Brandon Crawford, Joe Panik. I watched all of them before they were the San Francisco Giants. And so locally, you get a chance to see some of the players that are going to impact your Major League Baseball team that you haven't just been a fan of, but maybe your dad listened to. Skip Carey, maybe your grandfather was a fan of the Atlanta Braves when they moved to Atlanta in the 60s. And so I think that's a really special community and also familial experience that the Atlanta Braves are able to provide now with all these affiliates inside state lines.
And you might get a big league rehabber. You might be able to convince Craig Kimbrell to wear an all-peach uniform and help earn a save in the first game in team history.
Right, exactly. What was your thought when Kimbrell was going out to the mound, opening night at this ballpark? And I will never forget the crowd reaction. It was a sellout crowd, one of the largest crowds that Synovus Park has ever had in its 100-year history. And then he goes right into that lean right before the first pitch. Like, what was your experience from that? Because I can tell you what mine was.
Well, I mean, I'm not a big professional wrestling guy, but it was almost like a WWE entrance where someone burst through the door and it was a big surprise. And, oh, that's Craig Kimbrell. That's maybe a future Hall of Famer playing for the Columbus Clingstones wearing a peach jersey and peach pants. It was great fan entertainment, And win or lose, I think that's something that we're all trying to provide, entertainment. That certainly was the case on that first night.
A couple of good trivia questions about the Stones that I'm going to give away right now on Wahoos Weekly. Our first ever hit in Montgomery at what was then known as Riverwalk Stadium belongs to longtime Major League catcher James McCann.
Love that.
And the first run ever scored for a home game in Synovus Park history by the Stones belonged to David Fletcher. So you talk about the minor league level and all these young players coming up, and here you have three longtime Major League players in Fletcher, McCann, and Craig Kimbrell, who pitched that opening night, that factored into that inaugural season. I thought really enriched the experience.
And the Blue Wahoos can lay claim to a couple firsts at Synovus Park. The first hit was Joe Mack, who's currently in the big leagues with the Miami Marlins. And the first home run hit, surprisingly, a few games into that series, was hit by Nathan Martorella. You mentioned the history at formerly Golden Park, a century-old baseball stadium in Columbus. We've got history here in Pensacola, and we try and lean into it when we can. But we don't have quite the history that that stadium does. How do you emphasize that and make it part of your broadcast, part of the experience of being a Clingstones fan, knowing that, hey, Babe Ruth played here 100 years ago?
I think it's when it's relevant, when there's some potential history that's on the line. Maybe a pitcher is making a bid for a no-hitter. Maybe we have a game like we did this year on a Sunday game against Montgomery when 13 combined home runs were hit, and the previous Southern League record for a single game for two clubs to combine for a total was 10, and that was set July 3rd, 1979. So nearly a 37-year-old record was shattered between the Columbus Clingstones, a team that did not exist in name as recently as 2 years ago, and then the Montgomery Biscuits. They've only been around for about 20 years, and so to have a historical moment like that, it takes you back to some of the great power hitters that have played there. Babe Ruth, Stan Musial, Hank Aaron has played there. Willie Mays has played there. Sometimes it's a little easier for us to count
Martorella.
Who hasn't. Nathan Martorella, how can we forget? And now like I say, we're celebrating 100 years this year. We always have a lot of great video board spots that we put on during home games. But the thing I take the most pride in is what's the next century of great baseball talent coming through Columbus going to look like? Frank Thomas, Tim Hudson, they're both local boys that are from Columbus. We have some others. Cole Mathis is in the Cubs system. He's from Columbus. He's coming up through their ranks, and he's a top prospect in their organization. So what's the next century of great baseball talent going to look like there?
You talked about growing up in San Jose and growing up a Giants fan. How did you fall in love with baseball, and specifically fall in love with baseball broadcasting? Because you got to love it to do it, and you've chosen to do it for a career. Yeah,
it's a great question. My story is effectively when I was young. I was born in the year 2000. Nobody believes me, but I do remember snippets of the 2002 World Series. I think most of it was Game 6. I try to forget Game 7 like anyone else in the San Francisco Bay Area, but to watch Barry Bonds in the home run chase. And I think I didn't understand at 5, 6, 7 years old what exactly the historical context of it was and maybe some of the controversy that surrounded it. What I knew is I see a gigantic figure standing from the left side of the plate hitting baseballs into the ocean, and I thought that was really cool. And so to be able to listen to that on the radio, on TV, driving with my family to camping trips, and to understand Dave Fleming, John Miller, Dwayne Kuiper specifically, to put those moments in context, to also be at the ballpark, everything stopped. They stopped selling beer. The concessions stopped. Everybody, if they were waiting in line for the restroom, now they're looking up at the TV. Now they're listening to the radio. Bonds is at bat. And I thought that moment is so cool and so powerful for a broadcaster to be able to capture this moment in time, this moment in history, and know that your call is going to live probably beyond yourself and into the ages of baseball history.
You've got some pretty good models to follow in terms of Giants broadcasters, but especially on the TV side, shout out to Kuiper and Krukow, who were the voice of MVP Baseball 2005, and so that's how I got exposed to them. But also, last year you were flying solo. This year you have a broadcast partner.
Yeah.
And one of the strengths of the Kuiper and Krukow duo is that they play well off of each other. How have you enjoyed working with a broadcast partner for the first time in Columbus, knowing that that really opens up a lot more opportunities in terms of what the broadcast can be?
It's been spectacular. Austin Kroom, I think he's going to be a future star in this industry. He already has the voice, and he is developing the presence very quickly. Came out of Ohio State, where he got a lot of great experience calling their college football playoff run in 2024. He is quickly catching on to the rhythm, the flow of baseball. It's been a lot of fun because I also just enjoy being on the broadcast with him. So we'll have moments where we get very informational, but there's also moments where I think our best purpose is to serve as entertainers, to be conversational, to enjoy each other's company, and hopefully invite other people in to listen to our broadcast. And so whether it's a serious moment, whether it's a moment where a lot of hype is being built, maybe late in the ball game, or moments where we have two baseballs catch on fire from the uplight, or we have walk-up songs for visiting players that we really enjoy. Just that banter, being able to play off each other has been a lot of fun.
Well, finally, I'll ask you about your travels around the Southern League last year, your first year in this circuit. Now you've kind of gotten to know the spots. You've brought your fiance here to Pensacola. What do you like about coming here to Pensacola as a visiting broadcaster?
Well, I think for one, like we mentioned, going back to where I grew up, this ballpark reminds me the most of Pacific Bell SBC, AT&T, now Oracle Park in San Francisco. To have that waterfront view, to be able to have a splash hit here in Pensacola is very cool. It kind of brings me back to my youth and sitting up in the nosebleeds and watching Giants baseball. And so I've really enjoyed this spot. I think you guys do a tremendous job, not just on the broadcast, but as an entire organization. This is a first-class organization here in Pensacola. It's a lot of fun. And look, I wouldn't have brought my fiance just anywhere in the Southern League, Eric. So she's enjoyed it so far. I always enjoy coming here. And unfortunately, we only have one more series traveling to Pensacola after this, but it's always a lot of fun. And I appreciate your hospitality.
Well, maybe we'll meet in the playoffs. Okay, so you mentioned you brought your fiance here, and this is the place you want to take people to show off what the Southern League is like. What's the second choice?
Second choice, I think, aside from Synovus Park in Columbus, would be Knoxville.
Yeah.
New ballpark. It's a college town that I think, when we were there, at least in May last year around graduation, had a lot of life to it. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of the Knoxville area, but I really don't think there's a bad one. There's always a redeeming quality about any Southern League stop. I love getting to interact with different staff members. Now, like we said, in year two, it's a little bit more continuity with them as well. Maybe fans I got to interact with last year, or broadcasters. That's one of my favorite parts, is meeting other broadcasters, learning their stories, because just naturally by our position, Eric, we're going to have a lot in common in terms of interests. And so I always really enjoy the conversations, not just about the team, but about life, or maybe some of our favorite baseball memories. And so there isn't really a bad stop on the tour. I enjoy them all.
Well, I always enjoyed talking with Jack Johnson, but especially for the historical record. We'll be looking back on this conversation years from now as we're both, talking baseball for a living years down the line.
Yeah, I look forward to it, Eric. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Wahoos Weekly.